Water bottle's falling. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Daily Carry podcast. And watch this. Look how cool this is. Look, you're seeing me on the camera if you're watching with audio and video. And now you're seeing Micah if you're watching audio and video. Last episode, we had a little bit of a mix-up, and now we're back to the set camera. We had a little bit of a mix-up with which camera was which, so apologies for that on the last episode if Micah was talking and the camera was on me over here, and if I was talking and the camera was on Micah over there. Apologies for that little technical difficulty there, but we've got it figured out now, so we're moving on up.
But they got to see our reactions to what the other person was saying the whole time. So when I just sat there and stared at you like, Or
whenever I was maybe snapping at some kids here in the background to keep it down and be quiet. Yeah.
People need to know we're actually live, doing this live. If this is your first episode, we're coming to you live from the Rock Jiu-Jitsu team. And in the background, this week we've had kids camp, summer camp, where they're learning many life skills. But we also have dudes that come in and enroll in classes and things. And that was the whole intent behind it. So we apologize, and yet at the same time, we kind of go, we want you to see what's happening here. So, yeah. But it was actually pretty funny when you told me that, because I know there was a time that I think I picked my nose. So I don't know if that was on camera or not.
Well, if you saw it, maybe leave a comment.
I'm human.
We're human, believe it or not. We are human.
Yeah.
Even across from the interweb here, the people that are coming through your speakers, we are humans, and I very much so. I was the one who dropped the ball on the camera angle switching on the last one. I should have checked and did a little bit of a better pre-episode check and made sure that we were all systems go, but it's okay. One fine. Episode and now 13 and
0013.
I think we're doing pretty good.
I think we're starting to find some stride now.
I think
actually we've always had stride. I think just our topics are important, they're big. They're what's happening in life, and then there's also the humorous side. And also, I've really been enjoying this. It's really starting to take flight.
Yeah, I feel like that it's becoming a little bit easier to talk with. The thing is, when you put the headphones on, you're talking through the microphone. You can hear yourself, and it's kind of weird. Like, you can hear yourself if you're just talking, but the headphones like overstate it. Yeah. So there's a little tiny bit of a learning curve just to that. It's just kind of getting used to being able to have a conversation that's not interrupted, because it really makes you think a little bit more about what you're saying. And so I think that we're both getting to the point where that is something that we're getting more used to. Yep. And the conversation and just the natural flow of it, I think, is getting easier because of that limitation kind of getting to a better, easier flow.
So my son has a videography company, super, super funny, quick story. We have a gal, world-renowned, built, taught, developed a curriculum, has been doing it for 20 years. She wants to put it on video. Zach goes into video and he says, "You ready for this?" And she's like, "Oh yeah, I know this stuff inside and out." Dude, like 22 takes later, she never said the same thing twice. She was all over the place. There's something about when you get put in front of a camera.
That too.
Yeah, it really throws you off. And it's funny because you have seasoned people that will tell you the same thing. And it's funny because as soon as we turn the camera off, she'd go right back into the perfect vernacular that she had created. So yeah, it is funny because when you're listening to yourself talk in a headphone, it's totally different than when you're standing there talking to another person. It is odd. So, but I think we're doing all right. So
I hope so. I hope so. Anybody listening, feel free to let us know how we're doing. You leave a comment. Tell us if we're doing all right. Tell us if we need to work on anything. We are all ears. We're always open to suggestions. And so far, very thankful and very much encouraged by the positive feedback that we've received. Thankfully, the feedback that I've received so far, that's all been positive. Yeah. And I think that you would probably say the same. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like that everybody who has tuned in so far has gotten something out of it that has overall, in every way that they have told us, it's benefited them.
I had a friend, by the way, who does, he's got a big podcast. He's over on the East Coast. And he said, when you get to episode 25-ish, he goes, then he was talking to me. He wasn't talking to you. He had never met you. He said, "I know your personality." He goes, "Do not look at any comments for the first 25 episodes.
Well, I already made that mistake.
I know. And I said, "Why?" And he said, "Because it'll get into your head, positive or negative." He says, "Just let them go and be yourself for the first 25. He goes, "And then if you want to start looking," he goes, "that's fine." He goes, "But what ends up happening?" He goes, "I learned the hard way. A lot of people learn the hard way." He goes, "If you want feedback, go to people. Don't go to a page where you're reading it." And it's pretty uncanny because the folks that have come up to me, number one, have all been unsolicited. So when they come up to me, I literally mean they've come up to me and said, "Hey, I'm tuning in. I'm really enjoying this. I got a couple guys that have literally watched the same episode. Something about To Be a Man really hit home with some dudes. But so far, all of that feedback is positive, and I haven't had one negative conversation. And I know that bubble's going to get burst at some point. There's no way we're just knocking it out of the park all the time. But what it meant when I looked into somebody's eyes is the story went with it, and you can't read a story in a line on a comment section. So I thought that was really good advice on his part.
That makes sense.
It helped me out.
Thankfully, there hasn't been any comments that I've seen that have been negative at all.
Good.
All the comments that I've seen on Spotify, on YouTube, on some of the social media platforms, you never know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
Some of the videos that have kind of taken off, gotten some views, those ones have comments. I haven't read all of them. One of the videos that we put on TikTok is the video that's actually gotten the most views, and it's just I haven't read all those comments.
Like
There's way too many comments.
200 some thousand.
Yeah, 200 something thousand
Crazy.
views. There's a ton of comments on there, but overwhelmingly, this is what's more important, I think, is regardless of the comments, that video has like over 10,000 likes.
Yeah.
So people related with what was being said in the video, and they were engaging with it. And of course, there's always going to be people in the comments that are going to be splitting hairs and be in disagreement of what's what. But
that's cool, though. I like that. I like both sides. That's cool.
I think so too, and I think that if you approach it just from being an optimist and being positive, which thankfully, and for the most part, I don't always. There's plenty of times in life where I need somebody to come over and be like, hey, you're going to be all right. It's going to be good. You're going to be good. We're going to get through this. But at the same time, I generally am pretty positive. I'm pretty optimistic, and in fact, most of the time, overly optimistic. And so whenever I'm reading the comments, even if there's a couple negatives in there, usually it doesn't really affect me. Now, granted, it's not like I'm on this huge scale that a lot of other creators and podcasters are, where they've got just this a ton of attention on them. I don't really know what that scale of a spotlight is, because I'm sure that the number of people that have something negative to say could probably increase and feel overwhelming at a certain point. But at least so far, with everything that we've done with the coffee shop, with Pit Boss Grappling, with the gym, and with the podcast, so far, even with any of the naysayers, it seems like it's been very manageable to where it's like, okay, this is obviously the positivity outweighs the negativity.
Well, I'll say this, and we got to, we've touched on tougher subjects. Today's subject probably a little bit controversial, because we're leaning into something that impacts families, parents specifically, and kids. But we're going to talk about that in a moment after we talk about a super important event coming up this weekend, which is something that you created, you developed, you've built, you've honed in, you've marketed, and it's still finding stride right now. But when I say it's off and running, I don't say it because we're friends or we're in here working together doing a podcast. It is actually, if I was on the outside in, didn't know anything about anything, bought a ticket and came in, I can tell you this is one of the cooler things that you can go to. It's enjoyable, it's legit, and it's fun at the same time. We got a little bit at the end you get to throw in, at the end of a match if you don't get them to submit, because that's what it's all about. But the jiu-jitsu is exceptional. The showmanship is awesome. The playground is, this whole gym gets transformed into a mini event center, if you will.
A nightclub, an underground fight club.
A fight club. We can't talk about that. We have a dress code, and these guys come to the nines, man. They don't just walk in and go, yeah, whatever, Jared's throwing on this match. No, they
have to keep that in mind.
Well, that's true. It's mandatory. We kick you out the door, and then we wrestle in the parking lot. No, that's right. It really is cool, because the first one, it just went so seamless. There was a lot of stuff behind the scenes that people,
a lot
that they'll never know. And I mean, we're already prepping for something next week, both physically, video, all of it is, I mean, it's already starting and underway. But it is a cool event. So please, I talked it to death, but it's your baby. You created this whole thing.
Well, next Saturday, August 2nd, is JWI 3. Now, I'm going to make sure to give room for anybody to interpret and translate JWI how you'd like, because I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want to get any cease and desist letters. But I do, in fact, have JWI trademarked, so I should be safe with JWI. Now, keep in mind, my name is Jared Wayne Heyman. So if somebody were to call me up and investigate, I would say, my name's Jared Wayne Invitational.
Yeah.
Right. But I think what largely the internet has interpreted this as, and where it really started as, is, if we're being honest, is John Wick Invitational.
Yeah.
John Wick is a movie that has definitely taken the tactical world as well as the martial arts world just by storm.
Sure.
The way that they present all of their stunts, all of their combatives, hand-to-hand shooting. It's one of the very first movies that actually you see things like reloads.
Mm-hmm.
You see things like clearing corners the right way.
Can we go back to that? You actually see reloads and clearing corners the right way.
Yeah.
You don't run out of bullets and just magically.
You just have infinite ammo? No, you don't have infinite ammo in John Wick, which is the coolest thing ever. And here's what's so cool, okay? And I don't want to spend too much time because I could definitely nerd out, because now I have an excuse to watch John Wick and all the material related to John Wick and call it studying. I can say that I'm doing work because I've got this thing that's kind of taken off with JWI. But it just so happens that John Wick, that's pretty much that's my favorite franchise anyways.
Mm-hmm.
But they came out with a documentary on the making of John Wick. It's called Wick is Pain. And that documentary is incredible. I didn't even know that the director of John Wick is a black belt in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that till I watched this documentary. Then I also found out that the director of John Wick, this was his first movie to direct. And he had met Keanu years before John Wick. You know why? Because he was Keanu's stunt double on the set of The Matrix.
I did not know that.
And so this guy starts a stunt company basically with another guy, and they're helping with all kinds of different action sequences, basically helping to choreograph the stunts and the action, the martial arts, the exchanges, guns, knives, all that, with a lot of different movies. And they had pitched some ideas to a couple of different movies, and they were having a hard time with getting people to believe in this idea of gun fu, like up close quarters, using jiu-jitsu and combatives with guns and knives. And one of the big reasons that I understand is because a lot of times everybody's like, we can't do that because everybody was shooting blanks. In Hollywood, they shoot blanks, and so gases still come out of the front of the barrel. And so one of the solutions that they came up with was using a plugged gun. And so the gases would still come out, but they wouldn't come out of the front. So it made it safer to where you could like actually point blank shoot at people with very low risk. And so that was one of the things they talked about in the documentary. But regardless, like even with the reloads, everybody's like, it seems like that they didn't realize that there was enough people out there that actually wanted to see and knew the real thing. Like a lot of movie producers, a lot of companies are like, who cares? Just nobody cares about that. They just want to see people shooting people. Don't worry about the specifics. They're like, no, this is super cool. I don't think you understand. We bring this to the screen and we show people doing things and movements the right way, then people are going to like this.
Yeah.
And then finally, they have this opportunity with John Wick, where this is the first movie that they've directed, but they've also taken the story of John Wick, which was originally called Scorn, and had like a body count of 10 guys because somebody killed this guy's dog.
Yeah.
It was not what it was. They took it and they ran with it.
Yeah.
And because of that, they were able to make their vision come to life with, we're going to do these close quarters gun fu, jiu-jitsu with guns and knives, and we're going to actually count the bullets and make sure that it looks like everybody who's on here, they're actually having to do what the people in the tactical world do, and that is reloads, that is cover, that is all the things.
Dude, we're going to have to do a whole episode on this.
Oh, definitely. Yeah,
I mean,
no
just
doubt.
that in tactics, because
Absolutely.
you've so stepped into the world that I love to instruct, and I'll nerd out for 30 seconds, and then I just want to go back to you and the topic today, because this is something that a lot of people don't understand. They go take a CCW class, and they're like, I shoot paper, and they're like, I'm good to go. I'm like, dude, come out and work the street with me for 5 minutes, and I'll show you exactly why there's relevancy in the John Wick movies, and there's relevancy in like Extraction is another good movie where the combatives are exceptional, the tactics are really, really good. It's legit. It's what you face, and it's what you would face out in, for the most part, the real. And of course, it's Hollywoodized. I get that, but as far as hand to hand and combatives and controlling the weapon and how quick something can happen, this is what we teach in self-defense all day long. And it's not just weapons based; it's hand to hand. It's all of these things, because you have about half a second to make up your mind and half a second to react. And that could be de-escalation, walk away, or it could be totally John Wick. And and it's not a joke. It's not funny. People are like, oh, you guys are just making it off a movie. Oh no,
Yeah.
No. Like
No,
this,
don't get me wrong. I mean, there's still Hollywood. It's still
of course.
it's still glamorized. Obviously, there's still things that are not going to necessarily be completely realistic, but it doesn't matter.
You mean there's not an underground
movie.
switchboard of gals that are doing the Rosie the Riveter look and tattooed up in pink?
I don't know.
Sleeveless
That
shirt?
would probably be pretty cool if that was a thing.
I think it's a thing.
It probably is a thing.
I think it's
But I'm just making sure to make some important points here that there was a very realistic element, and there was this raw element brought to John Wick, and there was jujitsu brought to John Wick. There's jujitsu brought to the screen, in my opinion, in a way that had never been brought to the screen before.
Right.
And it just so perfectly showcased jujitsu and weapons and tactics and everything. And so John Wick's just kind of taking the world by storm for sure. Everywhere. It's not just in the United States.
Dude too.
Keanu Reeves?
Yeah.
Oh, no doubt.
I mean,
Absolutely.
he's a legit shooter. He's a legit martial artist. I mean, and he'll admit, he's like, we're choreographing, but you're a 50-something-year-old dude choreographing some pretty high-end violent fight scenes. This isn't the WWE. I mean, you're banging it out there.
And he'll train for months.
He will.
Months.
And it's very cool to watch the build up on that. And I've seen a couple 3-gun matches that he's run, and he's just an overall nice guy. But I'll tell you the one thing about Keanu. Never met the guy I would love to meet. He would be a really cool interview, to be honest with you.
That'd be the coolest thing ever.
But the one thing
Keanu, if this ever reaches you, JWI 4 maybe, unless you can make JWI 3. It's next Saturday. A little short notice.
We have an in, by the way, I heard, that might be showing up for the event.
We do.
But the thing I was going to say about him as a man, which I think there is, I'm shifting for just a second. There's not enough strong men leading and treating women the right way. We've really sexualized society and stuff like that. The one thing I like about him, every photo that I've ever seen him in, where he's got his arm around the back of somebody, he's not touching them. Have you ever seen that? There was like a year ago, somebody pointed that out to me. I'm like, what are you talking about? And they're like, they have all these side photos of him, and he puts his hand behind somebody 6 inches off their back, and it looks like he's touching them.
Yeah.
But he's not. If it's a woman. If it's a dude, he leans on the guy. But if it's a woman, he will not touch a woman during an interview. He has no problem posing for the picture, but he will not do that. And there's a huge chivalry respect issue. That goes a long way for me.
I agree. Keanu has also, if you've ever read his life story, he's been through a lot.
Yeah.
So that in its own right is really inspiring just to know his story. But to go back and talk about the John Wick Invitational, JWI 3, which is coming up. This is only the third one. The first one wasn't even like a formal attire fight club, right? We've really, each one tried to build on it. And the last one really just felt right. It felt like this is the way we need to run this. And so we're basically doing a repeat as far as like the set goes and the idea, but this time it's bigger and better. We've got 15 matches on the main card, the main event, starting at 7 p.m. That's going to be free live streaming on YouTube on Pit Boss Grappling. And then we have 4 matches on the prelims. And so what we did a JWI Open that acted as a qualifier. So we opened it up to where we've got some teens that are on the card, some kids and some teens that are on the card that are going to be the prelims, basically the appetizer for the main event, which is super cool because the kids, they just love it. And I mean, I have to say that whenever I came in after JWI 2 to train the kids, a lot of the kids, like I'm talking a little 3-year-old.
I want to do a flying arm
He comes
bar.
over and he says, Coach Jared, I saw you on YouTube and you were battling somebody and you got the gun and you shot him. And his mom's standing there and I'm like, I did. Yeah, that's right, buddy.
Sorry.
But they're just totally into it and they love it. They get it. They know that, kids are going to grow up playing video games. They're going to do. We are teaching our kids with a very heavy weight of responsibility. Whenever they go out into this world equipped, they know what it takes to carry what they carry right.
Yeah.
Right? So that's very important. They're getting the right instruction here, but they know what we're doing with JWI. We're having fun, and they know, the kids see, because we have the training weapons, the simulation weapons in here, and a lot of them, their moms, they'll do the self-defense classes we have here. Right. And so they know, they're familiar with weapons. But that's just to say that the kids have really been into it, and I had a bunch of people asking if we were going to have kids in, and I thought about it, and I was like, this has kind of been the whole point of Pit Boss. That was the original premise. The first tournament that we ever did with Pit Boss was a kids tournament. And that was kind of like one of the biggest motivations that I had. And I've talked about it on a podcast, on probably the first episode, about whenever we built the walls around, the pit walls around the gym. And at the day of the grand opening, I was like, man, this is so cool. I'm so excited to get the adults in here and do some rolls. But then the kids come in for their open mat, and the kids just, they're in love with it. They're just having the time of their lives. And still, every kid that walks in, it's like a big slide all the way around the mat. Everybody, the kids love it. And so the very first Pit Boss grappling tournament we did was a kids and teen. Why? Because I wanted it to be able to be an opportunity for the kids to be the very first kids in the world to compete in a pit, because they didn't have that opportunity before.
Right.
Because all of the competitions that utilized those walls up until us were just professional organizations. There was no way for kids to be able to have that opportunity. So we opened up, we started offering that to the kids. And then now it's why it caught up with JWI. I was like, yeah, I want to be able to offer this to the kids and the teens too. Why? Because they love what we're doing. They love what they're doing. And we have such an awesome kids team that I want them to be able to work hard and work toward and be excited about the prospect of working hard and getting on the card and being able to come out and have fun with us the night of, because it's a family-friendly show. It's not like we're running a nightclub in here. It's not that. I said nightclub, but I really meant fight club. The scene very much looks like a scene from a John Wick movie where they're fighting in one of the underground scenes or whatever. If you've never seen that, then you don't worry about it. Just go watch JWI 2. It's on YouTube, the live stream there. And you can get an idea and a feel for exactly what we're talking about. But next Saturday, it's going to be a lot of fun. And we have the actual music producer from the John Wick movies, Lake Castlevania. He's going to be here. He's flying in to be here with us that night, which is just the coolest thing ever.
It is awesome.
Somebody who actually composed some of the songs. Here's the thing. John Wick, in every single movie in the franchise, it would not be what it is without the music.
No.
The music made the movie work. Without that music, there's no way. There's no way.
You know what's interesting about it? And we actually do have a subject today.
And it's not John Wick.
It's not John Wick, but it is an important subject. But the reason I think you and I both get giddy in many ways about this is not, dudes, we relate to this stuff and whatnot. But the thing that I do like about the John Wick movies is every single thing was done with such intentionality, from the dress code to the coins to the dog to the maitre d's to the underground gals that are typing on like DOS and typewriter. I'm like back in the day stuff, but all in real time, all in 2025, right? But they're using 50-year-old technology back in the day, and it is just everything about it comes together so well, and it's only topped by the action scenes, to the point that you brought up, with legitimate jiu-jitsu, legitimate tactics, all that stuff. And it flows. It just absolutely flows. So doing that live here is actually, it's really taken off. It's really cool. And I think it's going to do nothing but grow. And eventually we're either going to have to take it out into the parking lot for space. I
want to do that at some point just for fun. I think that would be cool.
It would be cool. It's gotten so big. I mean, this place just packs out. It's 4,000 square feet, and it is full when that event is on.
It is. Next week, the energy in here, man. Next Saturday is going to be awesome. It's going to be a lot of fun. Live stream it on YouTube if you're listening and you'd like to watch. What's really special is we've got guys that are in here. We compete in suits. And we also have, on the prelims, we have the first ever female match, which is super cool. It's one of one of our students here. She's going to be taking on another student that actually won a coin at the JWI Open.
Nice.
And what's cool is whenever they won the coin, we gave them the option. You get to choose your opponent. And so 2 people who won coins invited and asked our students to go with them.
Nice.
On the prelim card. And then on the main card, 2 people invited our students as well. So we've got something like 12 or 13 people from our gym on JWI 3, which is just so cool. So much talent, so many people that have really put the time in and worked really hard and helped make the gym what it is. To see them on the card and to know that they have the excitement of being able to be here and be in the show, be out there displaying their skills and having fun. I'm so excited to watch them and just to see how the night goes. And while we compete in suits, what's really cool is if you don't get a submission, you throw a gun or you throw a knife in.
Yeah.
And that's important just to make sure everybody understands, because we're talking about some of the things we may not have actually taken the time that we needed to and explained that. But at 4 minutes, at 3 minutes and 30 seconds, we flip a coin.
Yeah.
We have those coins that are pretty John Wick like with a gun and a knife on one side. We flip that coin, and that determines whether a gun or a knife gets put in there, and then we fight to that to end the match.
Right.
Which makes the entire night and makes every single match just like you don't want to look away. It's all just fun.
It's so cool.
It's so entertaining. So that's next Saturday. And if you couldn't tell,
What
we're
time?
both pretty excited
What
about
time
it.
next Saturday?
Next Saturday, the doors will open at 5 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
And the prelims will start around 6.
Is it sold out yet?
Main card will start at 7. I'd say we probably have maybe less than a quarter of tickets left.
Oh, no kidding. It is just flying then.
Yeah, it's we don't have, it's not like we have a ton of tickets that we're able to sell anyways, because we are in a relatively smaller space, and which is okay. I'd rather have a smaller space and it be crowded than have a really big space and have a bunch of empty seats. I think that we'll grow hopefully smart, and the first venue we do, I want it to be just like crammed, packed, totally sold out. So I think when we're going to build there, we're going to get there, but I think for now, the gym is still a really good spot to do it.
Yeah.
And I think making it exclusive and gearing it more toward the live stream, because that's going to be a huge focus on this one, is to make the live stream just as professional as it possibly can.
No pressure, Zechariah.
Yeah, no pressure.
No pressure.
But this live stream is going to be awesome, so tune in there, and we're going to have a lot of fun. At 7 p.m. is whenever the main event's going to start.
Yeah.
And, man, it's just going to be a blast. So excited. And then, unless you have anything else to say on the John Wick invitation.
I just keep talking all day. We actually have a subject today.
Yes, we do.
I've said it like 3 times, and I keep going back to John Wick, so I apologize.
Well,
it's
it's also my fault too. We both keep backtracking
it's easy to do.
it.
It's easy to do. Well, we'll do. Let's just commit right now. We'll do a 2-part on this, because this first half really has been about the invitational, which is a huge deal, and we've talked about it a lot simply because it's part of the staple now of the gym, and really where many things are heading. And we got a lot of things to talk about what's coming out of this gym, and let's do another episode on that. But we'll do a 2-part on this. We'll do the first half today and do another part, because this is actually a big enough subject. If you're not interested in the John Wick stuff, then you're un-American. I don't know what to tell you. But if you tuned out the first 12, 13 minutes here, whatever it's been, to fast forward to this is actually a really important subject to me. I know it is to you. And that is, I sent Jared, just for context, I sent Jared a video the other day, and it was a thought that I was having before I saw the video. Somebody sent me the video. I watched it. I sent it to Jared, and essentially it was, we got to start putting this stuff up on the screen so we can replay it. It was essentially a guy who's saying, hey, you send your kids off to school 8 hours out of the day, then they go to a sport afterwards, and they come home, they eat dinner, they do homework, they go to bed. Who's raising your kids? And he says, if you think you're raising your kids, let's really break this thing down. And it's, he went as far as using the word indoctrination in schools. He went as far as psyop. Yeah. He pointed out a handful of things. I had, full disclosure, have not seen the full video yet. I've seen about 12 minutes of it, and it's about an hour long. The portion that I watched was just an affirmation of what most people are already feeling. They know what's going on. It's no longer, and we could even get into a whole episode on conspiracy theories, because at the end of the day, this is no longer, I think at one time this was a conspiracy theory, and it's no longer a conspiracy theory. Now it's just pure validation. It's like everywhere you turn. And we talked about this in episode, I think it was 1, where we were talking about here locally, they had thrown cat and dog bowls in the bathrooms for kids, just the ridiculousness of stuff that's going on. So the schools have caved to the woke culture, and at the exact same time, there's this just incredible indoctrination where they're just pushing agenda after agenda after agenda. And you can go on YouTube and pull up 40 million videos tomorrow. I swear to goodness, I don't think that number's embellished, of infighting at school council meetings and people going after school districts and what books are being fed to kids, and on and on and on and on and on and on. But his point was, who's raising your kids? Yeah. It's not just the material they're getting, it's how they're sourcing it. And I think it's just a really important, it's a controversial subject, because I met a parent the other day, and we will never name a name. I'll always leave it nameless, but I met a parent the other day that said, my kid has changed so much in the last 2 years So they're going to be a junior this year. So freshman and sophomore years are complete. They're going into their junior year. They said, I think I'm going to homeschool, and I'm not sure that I'm qualified. So I'm thinking about hiring a tutor, paying, and it's like 12 grand to cover 6 baseline subjects at that level. So, I mean, you're talking like you're starting to get into potential trigonometry and different things that might be above the pay grade of the parent. They're saying, I think I'm going to hire a tutor this year. And we're, about 8 minutes from the school year starting?
Yeah.
And they're getting ready to make this decision. That's how much it's bothered them.
Uh-huh.
And this is not like a helicopter parent. This is their kid. I know their kid. I know them well. They do a lot of sports. They get after it. They're concerned. They're concerned with the changes in their kid.
Rightfully so.
And it's disturbing.
Yeah, no, I think that this is such an important topic because I don't think that it's just been caved, because that's the word that you used. I think that there has been a level of, like we've talked about in other episodes, where it's just been so in your face that they just they break down walls until you just finally like whatever, it just kind of starts to become a natural or a more common part of the discussion. And they just keep on. I forget what the exact term that you used was, but they start small.
Boundary probing.
Boundary probing. That's what it was. Yes, thank you. And I think there was a level of that, has been a level of that with the education, but I also think that more than just caving, and what's probably the bigger problem than just caving, is that the education system has not just been caving on these things, it's been being built on these things.
Sure.
It's the people who are becoming teachers, large in part, they are being taught by teachers.
Mm-hmm.
And they're the ones who are probably going to be the closest with the teachers. So as you have more and more of these people who have been boundary probed, if we want to say that maybe it started there and then there was caving, the people who stick around that education unit the most and are the most influenced by the education unit are the people who are going in to be in part of the education system. So I think that we see years and years of people in the same groups continuing to become teachers and continuing to push the same philosophies, the same agendas, the same, if you want to call it, what was the word that you said when you said if you want to call it conspiracy or, I don't know, forget it. But I think that that's a big problem as well. It's not just caving, but the education system has very much been built on a lot of these woke ideals, and it's being built more and more in that direction every day. And the way that they are teaching in the schools, if you really open up and get into the books, running a jiu-jitsu school, I can tell you, parents come to me and talk to me about this stuff pretty often. And I had one guy drop in just a few days ago talking about his concerns of his kid being in school, and they're teaching all this weird stuff and their education, and a lot of them even starting way too young, talking about sexual education. And then now with the woke agendas in there, and then all of this stuff that they're trying to put in with the trans and with the homo education and stuff, homosexual education, they're making it to the point of it's not safe for your kid to go and learn these things, especially at some young, impressionable ages. And let's qualify young, impressionable ages, because that's still, even if you're a teenager, your brain is very plastic all the way up until you're like 25.
Yeah, it's pretty malleable.
You shouldn't be. It's the opposite of what we're needing to do as a society to move forward and even just have healthy population, have a generation in the future. You want to teach kids the way that it's been for years, and it's never going to change. There's 2 genders. This is the way that sex and repopulation works. There's no other way for it to work. That's it. If you're going to have a sexual education class, which I think would only really be necessary in the upper, maybe junior, senior year of high school.
I want to hit on one point, and then I'm going to give it right back to you. You said something that triggered something that I saw the other day. Triggered. I got that word. I love using that word, and yet it's become synonymous. It's like rainbow. It's become synonymous with the wrong thing. So it triggered something I saw the other day, and it was a post by Ted Nugent, of all people. Uncle Ted, as we used to call him. So I'm from Michigan. I grew up. Ted Nugent was from Michigan back in the day. He's got property down in Texas. Uncle Ted is what we used to call him. Ted Nugent said, so you're transitioning. What are you transitioning to? Well, I'm a boy. I'm transitioning to a girl. Oh, okay, cool. And you, what are you doing? Well, I'm a girl. I'm transitioning to a boy. And they're like, okay, cool. So what you're basically saying is there's only two sexes.
Huh.
I died laughing when I saw it. I was like, so nobody here is transitioning to a dog or a thing or a furry or like, so we've admitted now there's male and female. That's it. And you can only transition from one to the other. And yet we have things you can identify as all day long, which of course is silly, but it was just really funny because in the argument of you can be anything and non-binary, no. Well, if you're transitioning from a boy, you're becoming a girl in their minds, which of course you're not because you can't because your chromosomes will never let it happen. I just thought it was absolutely hilarious that one of the most controversial rockers from the 70s and 80s, outspoken guy on politics, very intelligent guy, really confirmed the one thing that we all know to be true. So sorry, I just stole that for a second, but it just, when you said transitioning, I was like, yeah, that's exactly the point. You are a boy, you're a girl. The only other thing that you could try to be, even though you could never become it, you'd have to medicate yourself to death and cut off body parts, is the very thing that we're all saying that there's only two of.
Yeah.
So stupid.
And here's the thing. I think that I got to take a second to be able to bring it back to the original, our first episode. Our first episode of all of this is coming out of a place of love. My heart breaks for some of these kids. And you, on one of the more recent episodes, I don't remember if it was the last one or the one before, you talked about this video of somebody who detransitioned in their story and how it just brought you to tears. And the thing is it's basically the education system and society and the powers that be that have tried to push these policies. They're preying on the weak. They're preying on the impressionable, the influence, the those that are easily influenced, because you can tell a 5-year-old that they're a dog and they'll act like a dog. Mm-hmm. It's like they've taken that concept and they've gone to a point where it's not only unhealthy, it's destructive and it's killing people. And I don't know. I'm sure that if we really got into any of the statistics, we'd probably see. I've heard before that the suicide rates in people that are trans, whatever, or having trans or wanting to transgender, having gender disidentification, whatever that is, or whatever it is.
The dysphoria.
That they can have very high suicide rates. Well, why do you think? It's because they're getting contradicting information. They're having people say, no, yeah, you're having those feelings. They're validating those feelings, which people have no business doing. And they are being so hypocritical by saying to us and a bill, and this is why I think a lot of people in Colorado specifically are very much thinking, man, I got to get my kids homeschooled. I got to get them out of these schools. Why? Because we have a bill that just passed to where now the schools can be involved in helping kids start to get gender affirming care without the consent of the parents. And if the parents find out about it and they have any pushback, then they can be criminally charged. Yeah. That's a huge problem. So of course, a lot of parents, rightfully so, are like, I think it's time to get my kids out of this system. Mm-hmm. But the point I was making is that they're being hypocritical because here they are saying that we can't tell them no, but then so that they can tell them yes. So you guys can go and you can give them affirmation, yes, you are this, but we can't say no, you're not. That's the reason that's hypocritical is because you're saying that I can't tell a boy that he's a boy, but you can go and tell a boy that he's a girl.
Oh, absolutely.
That is so hypocritical. And it's not just hypocritical, it's evil to its core because you're talking about kids. Right. And you're talking about hurting kids, hurting their mental state, hurting their psychology, making them think something that's not true is true. That's horrible. And we're seeing the effects of that more and more. And my heart breaks because I've heard a lot of people call wokeness a disease. I've heard a lot of people call it that. If it's a disease, it's a very curable disease. And that is you don't tell kids lies. You don't make them believe that it's okay to believe a lie. You tell kids the truth. And you make sure that they're being raised in the truth. If there was just more truth, we wouldn't have these kids that are so confused and so depressed and mad because they have these people telling them that there's a reason that you're having those feelings. That's probably because have you ever thought about the fact that maybe you are a boy, maybe you are a girl, maybe you are a puppy, maybe you are a cat. Those are literally things and conversations that now in Colorado and probably other places, and it's probably happening in schools, even if the laws aren't even in their favor. You have an education system that is pushing those topics, pushing that conversation with kids, trying to get them to believe that they can believe lies. And it's okay. It can be the truth. Whatever you want to believe, it's the truth. That's the opposite of what education is even supposed to be. Education is supposed to be teaching the way that the world works, true or false. Mm-hmm. used to be my favorite questions as a kid in school.
True and
True or
false.
false questions. You got a 50-50 shot, right? That's what school is supposed to be. It's not supposed to be, oh yeah, you can be whatever you want. School can be whatever you want. Life can be whatever you want. No, that's not the way that the world works. That's not what we're supposed to be taught. And the education system is gravely failing this country. Gravely. And I mean, we were only talking about some of the more sensitive topics, but we can also talk about test rates. We can talk about how the education system is really built more geared toward schools making tons of money and just making people believe that they need these degrees and these pieces of paper to go out and make their money. And there is definitely a job market that favors people who have these degrees. So we're kind of stuck in a little bit of a cycle where you got to do this, you got to go through the system, get the job that you want. But there's also a lot of people that have been a good voice to give good perspective on maybe you don't need to be a part of this. Maybe you don't need to be a wheel in this cog. Maybe you can step out of this. Charlie Kirk's a great example of telling people college is not the only option.
Right.
College is an option for some people, but for the majority of people, it's going to be something that just wastes your money, wastes your time, and puts you into debt. And we're now getting even further in talking about college and not just, K through 12 in high school.
But the indoctrination, and it is important because it does carry over. In college, I don't think that it's a stretch at all to say that. If my son was sitting, he'd be a perfect example. So Zachariah, my son got all his smarts from his mom for sure. But he pretty much aced his ACT. He could have gone to any school anywhere in America, had multiple invites. He chose to go to a local, it wasn't community, it was Metro State. So here in Denver, because he wanted to pay cash. He's like, number one, I'll never take a student loan. I'm going to pay for what I learn. Mm-hmm. So he goes in there and he came out of the International Baccalaureate program here in Douglas County, which essentially he started college as a sophomore because of his baccalaureate program. Intelligent kid, proud of him, worked his tail off, amazing. He got into college and got to his senior year into his last semester and said, it's kind of dumb, Dad, to be honest with you. I'm not really learning anything. It's just a bunch of talking points that professors are throwing out in lecture halls, and the proctors are basically just saying what they want us to hear. Now, there was some degree of education that was happening. I sit here and blaspheme all of it, but he's a great example because he's like, yeah, I'm just not doing it. And he was literally a semester away, and he's like, yeah, I'll go back and finish it eventually, but I'm going to do it the way I want to do it, and I'm not going to source my money out to people that are just giving me propaganda. And he realized at that point in time, I mean, and this was like COVID time frame, so it was really heavy when this was going on. So just a very simple example of one kid that woke up the right way and went, yeah, no, this is silly. So I don't want to hear this, Dad. I can learn more on YouTube videos than I can sitting in here.
Most of the time, that's completely true.
And it really is true. So it's, I don't think it's a stretch to bring college in. And the point you made on...
Well, let me just clarify really quick, just to make sure that everybody knows. I don't want to sound like that I am completely against college because I'm not. I have a degree. I have a bachelor's degree in business. That's what I went for. But I chose which school I went to. I went to Hope International University. That's in California. It's in Fullerton. It's a faith-based. It's a very good Christian academy in California. But I did it all online. I did it all while I was here, and I already had businesses up and running, and I was running the businesses at the same time as going to college. And for me, that was the approach. For me, I already had businesses going. I had a livelihood, and I was working and focusing on building those businesses. And the degree was more of just, I have the ability to get this, I might as well. But it was also because in the real estate industry, in the appraisal profession specifically, you have to have a business, not a business degree, you just have to have a bachelor's degree. Any kind, doesn't matter what. You just have to have a bachelor's degree to be able to get the highest level of certification.
Gotcha.
So I was like, okay, I'm going to get it done. That way I'm not limited in my career and my ability to move up. And so I did it. I did a 3-year program, accelerated. It's a 4-year bachelor's degree, but you cram it in 3 years. You get an academic scholarship through them. It was $5,000 per year. That's it. $5,000 per year. So a bachelor's degree in business for $15,000. That made sense.
Sure.
Right?
And it pays for itself.
Yeah. I was still working. And I was able to go at my pace, and I was able to work online as I was still working. My actual jobs, I had 2 businesses that I was running in that time, and I was able to run both of those, still make money, still stay busy. But in the evenings or anytime I had time, I would sit down. I just cram all my work and get it done. And that worked well. So I think that there's a time and a place, and there's some programs out there, and there's some schools and some colleges out there that they are taking a good approach and taking the right approach. I do think that online education is good. And I mean, you referenced YouTube. I think there's a lot to be learned, even just being self-taught. And I've heard it said this way before: a formal education will make you a living, but a self-education will make you a fortune.
Oh, sure.
And I believe very much in that.
I do too.
I believe that if you apply yourself to anything and you decide you're going to learn it, that's the best thing to do. And I think that a lot of colleges kind of just continue like that next step after high school, and kids just keep doing the same thing for 4 years or 8 years, depending on what kind of degree they're going for. And they'll just kind of stay in that circuit of, this is the way that the school grind works. It's not really necessarily relatable to real life. You're not working a job. You're not out there learning skills and dealing with problems the way that you would and the way that you have to whenever you actually get out in the field. Now, there's some programs out there, I'm sure, law school, medical school, you're learning, you're having some hands-on. You've got your mock trials, you've got your residencies, whatever. And there's different programs, there's different things that obviously there's going to be requirements of education, and we want people to be well educated.
Right.
But there's a lot of other things, and I mean, think about just one that we've talked about on this episode is there's literally people getting degrees in gender studies.
Oh.
And that's becoming like a popular degree. I mean, just imagine that. There's 2 genders. And now we're giving degrees on gender studies?
Yep.
Like,
we can solve this in 8 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, 1 second. 2
Boy,
genders.
Girl. So you hit on something, as you always do. This is why I love having these chats. So if you're out there listening, I'm going to give you my perspective. 56-year-old, married 31 years. Anniversary's right around the corner here. Another one coming up. My wife, private practice, psychologist, licensed professional counselor. Let me enunciate well. I can tell you with zero embellishment. In fact, I'm going to bring them in. I will collect them for a month. I'll put a note in my phone today, and I'll collect them for a month, and I'll bring them in, and we'll do a flashback live on air. There is not a week that goes by that my wife doesn't get a mailer. And so she has continuing education stuff that she has to do. And we get these flyers, and they're always a trifold. They're always sourced from 25 different outlets that do continuing education for psychology, therapists, psychiatrists, that type of thing. I can tell you I have collected one out of maybe 40 or 45 in the last few months that has anything to do with straight up counseling. Every single one of them are gender care.
Wow.
How to deal with trans, how to deal with kids that are going through puberty blockers, how to. It is absolutely taken over her field.
Mm-hmm.
And all the CEs are driven towards it. I've got one. I held on to it because I saw it and I thought, oh my gosh, it's something other than transgender affirming something or other for psychologists. It is mind-boggling. And so it is not just at the elementary school, middle school, high school level, college level. It's also at you got a 31-year practice. Here's your continuing education options. And pretty soon, according to DORA here in Colorado, which is the Department of whatever regulatory for, I don't even know what their acronym stands for. All I know is they're the controlling agency that holds your licensure in their hand. And pretty soon, according to their own verbiage and their own vernacular, this is going to start becoming a requirement, not a continuing education option. Oh, which, by the way, you have to buy. It's here's what you're going to be mandated to do.
Yeah.
And here was the first sign of it. During COVID, this stuff just flames me inside because I really want to be able to address things, with a sound mind, a peaceful heart, a soul that is convicted to love people through things. But there is certain evil that comes in. And you said it in the previous episode when I was saying chaos and lunacy and this is stupid, because I believe it is. But you're right. Evil gets a foothold. It started during COVID, and here's how you know it to be true. When there's an accountability factor on the other side where there's punishment. So my wife, as a therapist, as a psychologist, had to take the COVID shot or Dora was going to take her license from her.
Wow.
The state was going to take her license because of the field that she was in.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. If you don't think that's not punishment. So Dora didn't go to school for Jaina. Dora didn't get educated. Dora didn't hold a private practice. Dora didn't, fill in the blank, fill in the blank, fill in the blank. But Dora mandated all of a sudden, you got to do this.
Yeah.
Same thing across the board for so many different people that dealt with it.
It's creeping into everything.
It's crazy.
It's creeping into everything. There's been a lot of changes, and there's been a lot of issues, even in just like real estate, even in the appraisal industry. For instance, now we can no longer call a master bedroom, master bathroom, master bedroom, master bathroom.
Right.
Has to be either primary or main, not master. Can't say master anymore, because over in COVID, there was all these reporting agencies that were trying to report on racial bias and appraisal reports and all this, that, and the other. And there's this huge spin on people trying to act like that appraisers are a problem. We got to get appraisers under control. They come, from what I understand to now, to this day, they didn't come out with 10 credible cases. Not at all. And they just pushed this narrative, and they continued to try to put spins and changes to the point where appraisers, they're just trying to push them out. Why? Because they don't want to have any accountability between the money and the money. They want to be able to make loans without any third-party checks in place. And that's the whole purpose of even having an appraiser, is that he's not getting paid by, he or she's not getting paid by commission. It's the only person in the transaction that's unbiased that's going to be making sure, okay, the house is actually worth this. Maybe it's not worth what you're asking for, or maybe it is, or maybe it's worth more, and people want to know that. But it's the only person in the transaction that's unbiased, right? And they've just done everything that they can to try to just pound a narrative of everybody's bad, everybody's bad, everybody needs to be on this level. There can't be any level of this, but they didn't even come out with any credible cases where they were able to prove anything. But they've tried. What they did, their resort clearly is to try to make it sound like that, well, there's obviously appraisal bias in all these appraisal reports because everybody's still calling it master bedroom and master bathroom. That's racial bias. So they said we can't put those in those terms in the report. There's a bunch of other words and terms. It's just a lot of it's like nonsense. A lot of it's common sense that nobody was even doing in the first place. But then a lot of it's just nonsense where it's like everybody knows, and everybody for years, they call it a master bedroom, master bathroom. Now, the roots, whether you want to argue anything about there being anything with that, whatever. But people have always called it a master bedroom and a master bathroom. It's kind of ridiculous to...
You mean all people?
Yeah, everybody.
Right.
Everybody.
Yeah.
So now they're trying to change that. And, I mean, it's just another example of how this wokeness is just trying to just spread like a wildfire.
So this whole episode post John Wick is who's raising your kids, right? Yeah. And we've given multiple examples to where this goes from early childhood all the way up to the example I just gave to my wife in continuing education who's been in business 31 years. So this is what, a 40-some year spread of people that are impacted by this. You just gave an analogy on a woke term that is now, now it's, oh my goodness, we're
the education piece is there too. The continuing education. The reason that I even know that is because every 1 to 2 years you have to take different continuing education courses, and a lot of that gives you information on, oh, by the way, because of these racial bias or because of whatever this problem is, we're not putting these terms, we're not saying these words. So it's a lot of the exact same. So it's, that's to tie it back to the education, because that is what we're talking about. That's the theme. It's the education, and the way the education is very much being spread in the wrong way. The education system is failing at every single level.
Right. And so the who's raising your kids question, who's impacting your family, who's impacting your decisions, because this goes in all directions, but focusing on the kids for a minute, who's raising your kids in the school system, that is, there's a question within a question there. So at Douglas County, I got 2 points of reference. One is named Sydney, the other one is Zachariah. Now, I coached high school hockey over there. My wife coached track. I know lots of the kids, but as far as from my home, I'll go to my son and daughter. They both had their favorite teachers, They both had amazing journeys. I said on a podcast, I think 95% of it was fine, but of the 5%, it was a little weird. There was some stuff that was being pushed. There is, without it, I'm trying to steer something for a second. So my son is 4 years older than my daughter. The difference from when Zachariah went to school, 4 years, to when Sydney went to school was night and day as far as what they were teaching. And when you talk to the teachers, that both of them had the same overlapping teachers, I think like 25% of them were the same overlapping teachers. And the really, I'm talking the really good teachers, the teachers that were at the end of the rope. They're like, this whole thing is just coming undone. I can't wait to retire. I used to love teaching. Now I come in here and I still love the teaching element. I love to be able to be with the kids and watch them grow and blossom. Can't stand the politics, can't stand the leadership, can't stand the school board. I mean, just on and on and on and on. And it's so hard when I look backwards at it, because there were some things that I regret not stepping in and doing in the moment, but you don't want to make waves. And I think that's sometimes what they count on. You don't want to make waves. Well, when I look backwards now, the difference in those 4 years, just 4 years of time, when I say night and day, I literally mean the shift. The paradigm shift was so heavy to the beginning of the woke culture is when Sydney was going through. The tail end of when she got out, so Sydney's been out now for 5, so she graduated in 20. So she's been out for 5 years. The parent that I was referring to that has the kid who's now a junior came in right at the tail end when Sydney was leaving, right? So this almost some degree of overlap there. They take the identical classes that Sydney had, same teachers, and I sat down with this family and I met one of the teachers. And she said, this is unequivocally my last year. I'm done. I'm checked out because now we're being forced to do it or we're going to be fired. This was her statement. And I'm like, forced? She's like, forced. Like leveraged, forced. Here's the agenda. This is what we get. We get the teaching materials. We look at it and we go, are you kidding me? And they go, if you don't like it, there's the front door. So when we say who's raising your kids, the real question is where's this stuff coming from? Who's driving this? Because it's the education system, but that's a big term, education system. So is it the education system from DC rolling down to the states, to the state level, down to the county level, to the county? You know, there's a lot of questions within that question. But I know the end result. I know a 33-year teacher who taught my son, my daughter, and now this student. This is their last year, and they said, I'm going out swinging. So I'm secure. I'm not going to lose anything. I've lawyered up. I've made sure I'm good to go. I'm going out swinging, but I'm teaching the way that I'm going to teach.
Good for them.
And it's like, it's sad that we got to get to that level, but that's where we're at.
Man. But that's so important to bring into perspective, that it's not like we can just trust people with our kids. And we're living in a world right now where there's less and less and less people that you can trust with your kids. I mean, you can literally drop somebody off at a trampoline park and you don't know what somebody's going to say to your kid that might come back and say, what did this mean? What did this mean, Daddy? What did this mean, Mommy? This person said this. It's everywhere. All these ideas, all these lies, they're everywhere. And we have to be very careful, because the question that we're answering or trying to answer is who's raising your kids. At the end of the day, it better be you. You better not be trusting anybody else to fill that job. You've got to make sure that your kids are getting what they need and that you're training up a child in the way that they should go. And I think that I can kind of uniquely speak to the homeschool element, because I think that that's an option for some people. It's not an option for everybody. And I have plenty of friends that have been able to get through the public education system and they weren't corrupted by that, those woke ideals. I have some friends that are younger than me that have got through this education system, which would have been more so in the same kind of close to the same timing as Sydney, your daughter, and they were able to get through it without really being affected negatively. But I also have a lot of friends that have gone through it and they have been affected very negatively, and it's horrible to see, and it's sad to see. But parents, right here, right now, what can we do? What do we do? What do we do about this? Homeschool for some, I think that's an incredible option. I do. Now, believe me, it's taken me a long time to get there because I was homeschooled.
Mm-hmm.
I was part-time homeschooled and part-time went to my dad's church school. And so whenever I was going through school, oh man, I was just like,
You were one of those kids?
I did not want to be there.
Yeah.
I really fought and rallied. I was like, I don't want to graduate with a graduating class of 5 other kids. I want to go out, put me in public school, I wanted friends. I wanted an outlet. And my dad being a pastor, my dad being conservative, rightfully so, looking back, he had valid concerns, and I understand that, and I'm thankful for that. My mom, more so, being a mama's boy a little bit, she was like, come on, babe, let's put him in something. Let's put him in at least and let's put him in football or something, whatever. And then finally, my dad, he had talked to some of my cousins in Texas about jiu-jitsu, and he was very interested. The idea of jiu-jitsu and the way that my cousins had described it to him, he was like, we should try to get Jared and get Don, my older brother, into jiu-jitsu. This sounds like it's interesting. There's a place right here in Castle Rock. Let's go try it out. So we go try a class. I'm in love like right away. I'm like, yeah, anything. Let's do this.
Sure. Well, you were probably hungry too at the time.
14.
Yeah.
I was 14 years old.
Yeah.
And keep in mind, I had just got out of the hospital. That's a whole nother story. I just got out of the hospital. I was hospitalized for like 2 weeks. I had some serious issues going on at that time with my health. And we'll talk about that later. We don't have time for that. We're already kind of cutting it close here. But jiu-jitsu for me was very much a lifeline. I needed that socialization. I needed that outlet. So I'm saying that to say this. There's jiu-jitsu gyms out there now that you should be able to find a jiu-jitsu gym that pretty closely aligns with your values, pretty closely aligns with what you would expect your kids to be being taught as far as from a moral perspective and an ethical perspective. You should be able to find a jiu-jitsu gym that pretty closely aligns with that. Now, I'm not saying take them there and trust them completely to raise your kid. You still have a job to raise your kid. But I am saying that if you find a gym, a martial arts gym, a sport, it could even be a different sport, but obviously I'm going to be biased to jiu-jitsu. That can definitely be something that I see because I've experienced it myself. For any kids that are being homeschooled, if you're taking that route, well, they're still going to need some socialization. They're still going to need to have friends. They're still going to need to have other kids. They're still going to need to have some other people other than their parents to be able to look up to and know that there's people in this world who care about them, that they can look up to, that they can ask for advice, that aren't just going to tell them a crock of crap, right? And I take that very seriously. Any kid that walks into the Rock Jiu-Jitsu team, I want to be the absolute best coach in the world. That is my goal. I want to be the best jiu-jitsu coach in the entire world. I want to be the best example that I possibly can be to every single kid and every single adult that walks through the door.
But don't you think you're unique in that?
There's a level of it, but I don't ever want to be naive and think that there's not other guys out there that are good guys.
No, that's not what I mean. I mean, when I say you're unique, I mean as far as your philosophy, because you carry that across the board in all areas. I said in the last episode, you guys are just blowing sunshine in each other's butt. It's really how you are as a human being. And that to me is what the driver is in part behind this whole second half of this episode, which we are definitely going to 2.0 because we've just scratched the surface. And there's some things that I want to dive into deeper as far as who's raising kids and the outcome. But your upbringing, you just spoke to it. I wanted to get out. I wanted to go do things. So you lived on the other side of being contained a little bit. It sounds like maybe, hey, I want to go spread my wings. And, mom and dad are like, look, we get it. So I grew up I moved to Michigan in 1976. And I used to, at age 8, me and the Bidinger boys and Scott McEwen next door. I mean, I remember our address. It's so weird how I remember all of our addresses and all the names and all the friends and all the stuff. And nowadays we don't even remember phone numbers. So we would get on our bikes and ride from Buno Road, where I lived, to old US 23, up US 23 to Spencer Road down to Main Street down to town. That was 4 miles on our bikes. And it was heavy traffic. And we never thought twice about it. And our parents never thought twice about sending us. We, like, every day during the summer you were gone. And then every afternoon in the winter you were playing hockey. And if you came inside, parents were like, get out of the house, go do something. Go be productive outside. And nowadays, to the point that you made, we're protecting, right? Because there's so much influence out there that you don't know what you're getting from where. And when we dial this all the way back to the school systems is kind of what we started with, which is what we're definitely going to 2.0 this thing. our kids, and this isn't just my opinion. There's a lot of people that carry this opinion that have the concern of indoctrination and things being pushed. We've seen all the agendas, and we test drove the. I'm still going to stand on lunacy because of course there's evil at the end of it. Who's driving it? But the lunacy of the last administration's 4 years, and identifies this and drink out of cat bowls and all the stuff we've talked about, binary, non-binary, made up terms. That's what your kids are receiving in school.
Yeah.
That's the point.
No
like
doubt.
This stuff right here that does not prep you. By the way, if you're a parent and you just don't know, I'll give you a little tip. That doesn't prep you for your SATs. Mm-hmm. I looked up last year, had one of the kids bring me, he shot a photo of each of the pages.
Well, how long do you think till the SAT has some gender?
It'll have it in there, but he did take it. It was a college deal. And the only thing that it did have in there that I can attest to that was quasi in that realm, because this was a straight up education test, there was a little bit of equality stuff that was questioned in there if you want to go that route. But for the most part, it was straight up, problem solving, mathematics, grammar, yada yada yada. Your baseline aptitude stuff. So I do want to make sure that we revisit, because we've scratched the surface on something that stuff is not going to get you anywhere in life.
Yeah.
It's just nonsense. It really is.
It's going to get you depressed. It's going to get you making mistakes. It's going to get you
positive.
No, it's going to put you in a dark place. And anybody who doesn't see it that way, you really need to open your eyes, because if you believe a lie for long enough and you start to build your life on a lie, eventually that lie is going to fall apart. It always catches up to you some way or another.
But it's any lie.
Lie.
It doesn't matter.
Any lie. But then you talk about the gravity of this lie.
Yeah.
Your identity. I mean, this is just. We go on all day, but I mean that's not the only area that the education system is failing. Who's raising your kids? Right now, you have an option to make sure you're spending the time that you need, not just whenever your kids get home from school, but whenever your kids get home from school and you're tired, they're not just going up playing video games. There's got to be time with the family. There's got to be time with reading the Bible, praying with each other, encouraging them, teaching them, asking them how their day at school went, asking what they heard, asking if they have any questions about anything. Having that relationship with your kid right now is more important than ever before, because so much, if your kids are in school, there's so much that every single day I guarantee that they're going to hear, and they're going to need things clarified. They're going to need a compass. They're going to need something that's constantly pulling them in the right direction as they're going out into the world that's trying to get them all mixed up and confused. They're going to need people keep them on the right path, to keep them on the straight and narrow. And I think that whether your kid is homeschooled, or even if your kid isn't homeschooled, put them in something. Give them what there's church is going to have its place. Sports are going to have its place. But find a group, find a community. We've talked about this so many times. Find a circle of people that you know are trustworthy.
Yeah.
That your kids can be in this group, and they're going to have a choice of good influences, of good mentors, of good people to look up to, good role models. And this jiu-jitsu school, we have so many good guys. I am not the only person who cares about the kids on this team. There are so many people who care about the kids. And so I'm saying that to say that, especially if your kids are homeschooled, definitely they're going to need an outlet. But especially if your kids are in the public education system, which there is private education systems too, and they're not perfect. They're still going to have their share of stuff that gets in there. But especially if your kid's in a public education system, that only, I think, quadruples the need for them to be in something that keeps them grounded. Be in something, whether it's jiu-jitsu, whether it's a different sport, or whether it's just your community, whether it's church, Bible studies, just keeping them involved in youth group. They have to have something that keeps them grounded in truth, in reality, and keeps making sure that all of the time every single time that they're told something that's a lie, they're corrected. It's the truth is told.
I want to share. I want to go to a background for a second. I want to share something, because if you present a problem and you don't present a solution, you're just part of the problem. I don't think there's anything wrong with talking about a problem, but I think, like, if you and I are going to sit down and say, hey, we're throwing out a pretty big statement, there's a lot of indoctrination happening in schools, stuff like that. If we're just finger pointing and not providing a solution, then you and I are just sitting back, just spreading the same thing that everybody else is spreading, but we're not offering anything in the end. So I have a personal, at least a one-part solution, but I want to go backwards real quick to my career. So in 95, before in law enforcement, before body cameras were ever a thing, before there was any type of filming, really it was right at the introduction of in-car cameras, if you will. I actually went out this was when I was a street cop, not undercover, not fugitive stuff. I went out as a street cop and I bought my own dash mounted camera to put in my patrol car. And the reason I did this at the time was because I was watching guys go get decimated in trials because they did the right thing. They followed, everything from reasonable suspicion to probable cause. They articulated the case. They did a great write-up. They get in there and you got what I call ambulance chasing attorneys come in and they're looking for that one little trip hazard, and guys they would lose a court case, or there would only be a conviction, say, on one out of the three things. And here's what I learned. I started filming everything. And back in the day, and I'll say it out loud because there's cops that will push back and they get mad at when I say this. Don't care. Let me be blunt. You have nothing to hide when you have nothing to hide.
Yeah.
I'm not saying in any way, shape. I've said this before, and I'm going to clarify it right now on this podcast, and I'll say it again. I'll say it 100 times. I've known 2 cops out of probably a couple thousand that I've known that I would have either arrested or fired and or both in my career. I've known a couple that I was like, yeah, you got a kind of a crappy attitude out in the street, but people just expect cops to walk on water, and they're just human beings. So that being said, the reason I put a camera in my car is because I was pretty much in the chase capital of the United States. People think LA, I'm telling you, Columbia, South Carolina, we were the 12-hour layover point from New York to Miami, right in the middle. 62 hotels, metric tons of cocaine coming through there. Everybody ran. Now, contextually, this is back in the day. This is 95, 6, 7 street cop stuff. I never lost a case. I never lost a case because I was taught well from the beginning. I was dropped off at a courthouse, as I mentioned in a previous episode, sat in there for 2 days watching cops on the stand. But I think the primary reason I never lost a case is I videotaped everything. And so when I had a defense attorney come to me going, hey, we got to sit down and talk about my client tells me, and I go, oh, okay, here you go. Come back to me if you got any questions. And I would hand him a copy of the tape.
Yeah.
I never got a call back. Not one time. Nobody ever came back to me and said, this thing on tape. Well, now with AI,
yeah,
it's, I don't even know how cops are going to do it nowadays because you can alter anything. Shoot, you can go buy an iPhone and adjust pictures on the fly to put your own background in and all this stuff. But I bring all this up for one point. One of my solutions, part of a solution is I think we should be live streaming every class because we have technology now that you can blur out people's faces. You don't need to be able to see whose kids is in what class, but we should be live streaming every single class where a teacher is teaching. And I can tell you right now, teachers would lose their ever-loving mind if they were watching this episode. What are you talking about? Well, we're doing it with cops. And I can tell you right now, I'm all for it. I have zero problem, one, with body cams and or people on the street carrying their iPhones or their Androids filming the cops. Now, the problem I do have is if you're questioning the integrity of a crime scene or you're not operating within the limits of the law when there's an active situation and you're interfering, that's a totally different deal. But as far as accountability, it's no longer he said, she said. Now we can just film it. And I have no problem with that. I've never had a problem with that. When I first put my camera in my car, I had a lot of dudes like, dude, what are you doing? I'm like, I tell you what I'm doing. I'm going to win every case. I'm not going to be wasting any of the court's time, my time. Nobody's going to have to pay me overtime to go to court. And I bet I don't have to testify. And so we had 2 different levels. We had magistrate level and solicitor level because we were French blue law back in South Carolina. Magistrate level, I probably testified in about 60 of my own cases. Misdemeanor level was heard by a magistrate. Cop would come in, defendant would come in. You swear an oath, you testify. If you go to solicitor's court, essentially, it was going to be more felonious in nature. So I would go to felony court. I have testified in front of a jury, a physical 12-man jury, 5 times in my career. 5 times in my career. The vast majority of the time that I never had to testify was because of that tape.
Yeah.
I would love to see that in schools. I think it would solve so many problems. It would create a couple because now people are going to question it. But at the end of the day, now you have full disclosure. Because what we have right now is the opening statement to this was who's raising your kids?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you have no idea what's being said. You're getting it filtered through your kid unless you're involved in it. But if you could sit down and watch everything that was being done, because we're in a society where we're watching everything anyway.
Mm-hmm.
TikTok, YouTube, I mean, every social media platform. Why in the world are we not in schools?
Yeah.
To me, I think it would curb the vast majority of the problems that we're facing right now, because people would be able to go, wait a second. The same way we do it out on the street.
Yeah.
I would love to have had 14 different camera angles from some of these incidents where cops were physically attacked for doing their job, the same way that we do NFL replays when they stop the play and they review it from 14 different camera angles. I would love to have that, but I'd love to have it in classrooms. I know I went on my diatribe, but I really genuinely believe
transparency.
That's what it is. Now you don't have to question who's teaching your kids. You can see it.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to question what they're hearing. You can hear it. Instead of going, oh, you're not allowed to come in. Well, we're going to put dog bowls over here in the corner. We're going to make a decision for you. We're going to allow your kid to go get potential gender-affirming care that they've come in under confidentiality that you can't know about as a parent, that we're going to help with as a school counselor, and we're going to hide this, or we're not going to disclose it to you. No. Let's open it all up.
Mm-hmm.
If we're going to go in and have this battle, then let's go in and have this battle with full candidacy.
And I'm going to sound a little bit hypocritical here, because I said earlier in this episode that I am usually very optimistic and positive, but on this one, I have to tell you, I don't think that's ever going to happen.
It may not.
I don't think it's ever going to happen. You know why I don't think it's going to happen?
No.
Because look how far the school system has fallen. And the people that are in charge of the school system and the ship, the captain of that ship, so to speak, the captains, whoever so it may be, it's only continued to get worse. I have not seen one positive change in the education system, honestly, in my lifetime. And all my years, they started taking God out of the schools, taking the Bible out of the schools, taking the flags out of the schools, and hanging up everything. I mean, I think I saw a picture not long ago, like trans and homo and pride flags, all this stuff, just hanging up all over schools and stuff. They have infiltrated and they have conquered, so to speak. They have taken it over. It has fallen. It has fallen. The people who are leading the schools and the education system as a whole, it's been taken.
Well, that's why I said caved, because at the beginning of the broadcast, caved was very intentional, and it wasn't meant to be a play on words.
At some point,
it literally
caved.
They gave up. They gave in. They're
At
like,
some point it caved.
This teacher I
now
referred to
it's
is
being
exactly
built.
that.
Now it's being built.
Oh, it is. No,
it's been being built for a couple of years.
No argument, but I still go back to this teacher. This is such an important point for me. She's quitting, but she's going out fighting.
Yeah.
She's like, I've done my I think she said 33 years. I'm 33 years in. I've enjoyed it. I've had an amazing career. The last 5 have sucked, is what she said.
Wow.
And I'm going out swinging. Mm-hmm. I've lawyered up. I know the boundaries. I've challenged the administration. I know I could. Here's where I can operate within, and I'm going to do it. But I'm going out swinging. And I say, keep swinging at this point in time, because there's no. By the way, a lot of people I don't think know this. You don't have to send your kids to school.
It's true.
There's show me anything in law that says you have to send your kids to school. It's your responsibility to take care of your kids. It's your responsibility to make sure that they're educated. Mm-hmm. But there's nothing that says that I have to send my kid to the school system.
Yeah.
Nothing at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think people understand that. It's your responsibility to make sure your kid is safeguarded. If you're going to send it off, it's the school's responsibility to make sure that they're safeguarded, right? We have security at the front doors. We worry about active threats. We worry about active shooters. Mm-hmm. And the biggest evil we have is coming from the inside of the school out.
Yeah.
That's why people, when I say, look, dealing with the gun is easy because everybody recognizes the gun. I'm not saying it's not dangerous. I'm not saying it can't do damage. What I'm saying is when you see it, it's obvious.
Yeah.
The stuff happening in the classroom, this is manifested over years. It's metastasized into a cancer that is going to be hard to defeat, which is why I say full disclosure is the only thing that I know of that ultimately is a starting point.
Mm-hmm. It would be amazing.
And the reality is this. Let's just say it gets brought up and we go, hey, we want to put we want to put cameras in the classrooms, live stream this. And they go, we don't want to do it. Why? What could you possibly be afraid of?
Well, they're going to blame. They're going to say the kids. You want minors to have to live their whole life on camera
They
and
are.
stuff. And here's the thing: it could be in the back of the classroom, just pointing toward the teacher.
That's exactly right.
Whatever.
That's exactly right.
I mean, but regardless, I think that we're at a point where. Don't get me wrong. I hope that it would change. I hope that we have positive changes. I don't think that it's completely impossible, but I think that, man, we have a long way to go.
We do.
And it would be a lot of hard-fought battles to get the current system on track.
Okay, so
what I'm more optimistic about,
I'm so fired up right now.
what I'm more optimistic about is I think that we're probably going to see the system completely change, like completely be restructured, reframed, and probably from the ground up, because it really needs to be, I think we're at a point where it probably just needs to be privatized. I think so. And I think that if we do that, then we already have the right to choose where the kids go to school. But the problem for a lot of people is if you want to put them in a good academy that aligns with your values, it's probably going to be pretty expensive. But if we go all in on a privatized approach rather than it being this public education system, then maybe, I don't know, the government offers some kind of a tax incentive, whatever, to where, okay, your kids are going to get this amount of credit for going to school of your choice, rather than we're doing public schools. Because here's the thing. Public schools, they are completely wasting tax dollars. They're not good for the country. They're failing the country. So I think that the public schools go away, and instead of us paying taxes into a public school system, we get a tax credit, hopefully, for our kids going to school. And we're able to choose which school our kids go to. I think that would be a system that would work way better than what we're doing right now. Because right now, we're just basically taking a long shot and saying, I hope this works, and I hope that I'm able to help my kid, even though there's a whole bunch of nonsense being taught to him and shoved down his throat every day, 5 hours, 6 hours, 8 hours, however long they're at school that day. That's more time than you're probably going to spend with your kid that day.
And that's the whole point of this episode is who's raising your kids.
Exactly.
Because they're with other people 5, 6, 7, 8 hours, then potential sports, etc. You, depending on how engaged you are as a parent, it's hard, right?
Mm-hmm.
You got a kid that comes home and they've been banging all day. Let's just say your kid's amazing and they're really into school like mine were. Mine loved school. They loved the sports they played. They come home, it's dinner time, and then there's homework. My son, again, he went through the IB program, 2 to 3 hours a night, zero embellishment of homework. 2 to 3 hours a night.
Mm-hmm.
He made that choice. He wanted to do it. Mom and dad said that this sounds awesome. You're going to be able to start college as a sophomore. IB programs are recognized all over the world. You could literally go, well, what we didn't know at the time, definitely didn't study and research it enough to know the commitment level that was there. They told us it was a hard program. We did not realize that we're talking all day class, all evening, and then homework, study projects on the weekend. Zachariah came out of it and said it was unequivocally, without a doubt, the worst thing that he has ever been through in his life. Now, that being said, he said, I learned a ton, but I had zero free time. He could barely play one sport.
Yeah.
Barely. And he missed a lot of tournament games because of it. So it is hard when you have somebody who's aspiring and you're invested as a parent to see him get somewhere. That program for him ended up being an albatross hanging around his neck because he couldn't breathe. And when he got out of it, when it was time to go to school, as I mentioned earlier, he's like, I'm paying cash for it. I'm going to a metro college. I'm not wasting my money on this thing that I just endured for essentially 3 years of high school. Benefited him educationally? Yes. Emotionally? Horrible. It was a train wreck. And so there's just there's so many rabbit trails that we can get into with all this, but it really comes down to, again, who's raising, who's doing what is your responsibility as a parent? Because if you're a parent that is in the case I used as Zechariah, we were trying to be engaged and he would shut us out. He's like, I just have too much to do. But he wasn't going upstairs and banging on video games. He was going upstairs and doing classwork at night. And I know it's hard. I get it. Like I am uber sympathetic and empathic to a parent that is trying to raise a kid in today's modern society. Because again, for me, growing up, I look backwards. I'm an old crusty curmudgeon. But man, when I got out of school, I got on the ice and played hockey, or we rode up to town and hung out, and I had 20 minutes of homework a night would be a stretch, a stretch.
Yeah.
And they were teaching us the basics, the things that you needed to know to go out into the world to be able to function, in grammar, to type, to add.
Mm-hmm.
And we have evolved so much. There's so many options right now. And I get it. Parents, you want to put your kids in to be able to test drive all of this stuff. But again, you got to, in some way, shape, or form, if it's not transparency through a camera with full disclosure of what's happening in the classroom, I don't know what it is. Because even if you privatize it, to your point, my only pushback on that would be, if you're disconnected, you still have no idea what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Just because it says private in front of it, I don't know that necessarily solves the disclosure part.
Well, yeah, no, it could be exactly the idea that you had. If you're privatized, then you got an academy that has the disclosure, maybe has the cameras, maybe it implements. It would be up to you to find the school that you trust that has that transparency that you're looking for. But the thing is whenever we're talking about all these examples, let's just go a step further and add more context, because we don't have a ton of time left on this episode, but just to clarify even further, because we've talked a lot about the more sensitive and the more in-your-face issues.
Yeah.
But we can't even trust public schools right now to just teach those basic subjects you just talked about. We can't trust them. And it's been proven that we can't trust them. What was put into our health books or biology or whatever science, whatever it was, what was put in there for years and years and years, probably still is in there in a lot of books. The food pyramid. And what has come out about the food pyramid, that it was literally funded by the agricultural community, and they wanted to put it in there to push more sales of grains, of cereal, of all of the things that they wanted to sell and make money and profit off of. It wasn't anything that was scientifically studied and researched. They paid those researchers to have results that favored them and their sales and their profits. And if you don't believe me, go look it up, because more educated people and people who have actually debunked and solved all that and proved all that, it's already happened.
Yeah.
And that's been taught in the school books, and that's probably still in the school books to this day. And so corporations, money was able to get a lie into school books years ago. And if that happened years ago, believe me, there has been more and more and more, and now more than ever, history is not being taught the way that it's supposed to be taught. History is not being taught and being stayed true. They're going to be putting their lights and their spins on it and what they think it really means, and who was the right, who was the bad guy, who was the good guy. And why is it that so many, I can't believe how many kids of this generation, they literally have no problem. They will tell you that they hate America.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've heard anybody who said that.
But Americans hate America the most.
It's ridiculous. And that's being taught somewhere. And that has to be taught from a light of history, saying, oh, America's founded on this. We stole this country, this, that, and the other. And we disrooted the natives, and we had all these turf wars, and we did all this bad, and we had slaves and all this. Hey, America had a lot to learn and a lot to grow from. But when we were founded on God and on principle, we were doing a lot of right by the world. And there's a reason that America is still what it is today, as far as being a pretty well-known superpower around the world. And there's a reason whenever somebody like Donald Trump gets in office, people around the world take note, and they start to realize that they have to reel some stuff back in and keep themselves in check, because America is still seen as a power player with the right administration running the ship. But that's because we're a country that was blessed originally when we were founded upon principle, founded upon God. And as we've deviated more and more and further away from that, now you have people that don't even really have the real story, the true story of us coming. How many examples that are just never even talked about and glanced over of whenever we had people here that would come and help the natives, help Native Americans. And I mean, think about how many reservations that we have, even still to this day. Now, were there wars? Sure. Was there killing? Was there bloodshed on both sides? Yes. But think about the ways that we helped them, taught them different languages, taught them how to trade, taught them how to evolve as far as their tools and all that went. We've given them opportunity, and for them to take this spin as we owe everybody so much because America's just been this big bully that's just taken everything from everybody. That's not the truth at all. Americans and the first people who came and colonized, they took a huge risk. Why? Because they wanted freedom. They wanted to be able to go and practice living life exactly the way that we're talking about, the way that hopefully a lot of families still want their families to be raised, their kids to be raised with good, strong moral values. That's why people came to this country in the first place. And now even within this country, because we've deviated so far from those values, here we are thinking and trying to talk about how do we get back to a safe place? How do we get back to a place where we're free to be able to raise our family the way that we want to? Because in a lot of ways, we're feeling this chokehold start to get applied to where you can't tell your kids that they can't be that. That's up to us. That's not up to you as their parent. Think about that. That's they're encroaching on taking away our freedoms. In fact, they're doing it by the law that was passed in Colorado. They're taking away our freedom to be able to be the parents that we want to be, know we should be, and are striving to be to our kids. They're taking away that fundamental right to even be able to raise our kid in truth. They want us to be able to have to adhere to whatever lie they want to tell our kids. And if we don't, then we're criminalized. We are criminally punished for not going along with the lies that they want to be able to tell our kids. That is so wrong. That is so disgusting. That's so evil on every level. And it's no wonder, because the education system is continuing to teach everybody that America's wrong, America's horrible, and we have to do this. It's all lies. It's lies, 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 lies. That's what it is. And how do we solve it? The only thing that I can imagine is what I said before. The only solution that I can think of is if we get this to the point where it is privatized and we've got people who have their strong moral compass, their strong ideals, their conservative values, whatever it is. We have good schools come out of that. And then we'll have, if they want to have their freedom to be able to go start their woke schools or whatever, that's fine. Do whatever you want to do. You have the freedom to do so. You have the freedom to do so even right now. People can go and open a legitimate school and wave whatever flag they want to in front of it. They can do that even right now. And we have private schools and private institutions. But what I think we need to do is disband the one that is absolutely failing in every single level, teaching lies and failing not just morally, but failing our test scores, from what I've heard, worse than they've ever been. Horrible. Our education system is completely failing the country.
We can pull up stats on it because we're actually ranked pretty low for sure. And this is something that I follow directly and indirectly over many, many years. And we're on a downward trend. Nobody can argue the stats. Example that I saw recently, it was a YouTube video. Kid had won. It was a county lawsuit with the school that he went to. So he wore an American flag T-shirt.
Yeah, I saw
school.
this. Mm-hmm.
They told him to take it off, go change your shirt. And he said, tell me the difference between me wearing this flag T-shirt and the flag flying out in front of our school. And the school district came back and said, the school district makes the determination of whether or not that flag flies. And we make the determination on what you wear by policy and code in our school. I mean, just stop and live with that for a second. Mm-hmm. Forget everything else we've talked about. Just an American flag. Yeah. We're not talking trans. Mm-hmm. We're not talking binary. We're not talking cat bowls. We're just talking an American flag.
Right.
How many HOAs have you seen? Stories. Somebody puts a flagpole in their backyard and the HOA comes back and says, can't do that. We're like, when I grew up as a kid, you drive through neighborhoods and there were flagpoles literally on every flippin' house in the neighborhood. Nowadays, not anymore. Mm-hmm. One in every 25, one in every 50. I don't know. I'll go drive through my neighborhood on the way home and I'll count. And I'll look. That's where we're at in this country. That education, that pushback, you said it. Kids saying they hate America, right? And it's easy to go, well, run over to another country and check it out. Pick any one of the top 10 that you want to go to and tell me what it's like. Because there's a big difference between going to Cancun and Juarez. There's a big difference. And people say, oh, I love Mexico. Okay. Have you been to all of Mexico? Because there's a big difference. And I, to your point, America's getting beat up. We were kind of the last, in my opinion, kind of that beacon of hope, that last bastion of hope, kind of the world's police on some level too, because we got some people out there that are willing to do some pretty crazy stuff with nuclear weapons and and people are like, oh, we shouldn't go over there and bomb. And I'm like, well, here's the deal. If you don't stop it, these people are going to kill millions of people because the only thing they want is genocide in their way of life. We're trying to keep levity. And at the end of the day, somebody's got to be willing to step up. And that's what these summits are all about. And that's what, all of the world coming together in, what's the G8 summit and all these. I can't think of the one off the top of my head that is so mocked all the time for not stepping in and working together. So America then becomes the black eye when they got to come in, they got to be the superpower. The point to all of it is, Jared, is this: whether America is terrible and awful that some people believe, or America is great as some people believe, the one thing that we have still, even though it's getting stepped on, it's getting trampled on, is the freedom that other countries don't have. And we're going to lose that. We're going to lose it. It's happening right now in New York.
It's happening here in Colorado.
It's happening here in Colorado. It's happening in California by the truckloads. And if you don't think that it's not coming to a town, a state, a city, street near you, I hate to say it, you are naive. And you got to wake up. And if you're sitting back and you're saying, well, what can I do? Start with your kids. Mm-hmm. Start with your kids.
Yes.
I will never tell anybody how to raise their child. That is not my business. But if you are sitting back and you are assuming that everybody else is raising your kid and they're doing a good job, you might want to gut check yourself a little bit, because that, to me, and look, I'm going to extend an olive branch to the entire world. When I go buy food, as an example, if I go through a drive-through, somebody made that food, somebody touched it, somebody wrapped it, somebody put it in a box or a bag, and they handed it to me. It was my choice to eat it. I bought it. It was my money. Cardiovascular disease, #1 killer in the world. It was my choice on whether or not I'm eating that Big Mac. But somebody put it together. Somebody touched it. I'm trusting in the fact that somebody did an honorable thing when they handed me my $5 meal, and they didn't do something bad to it.
Or like $10 right now.
Well, $10. I'm trusting the mechanic to actually do the oil change, because I'm not sitting back in the bay if I take my truck in, which is why I like doing most of my own stuff. But if I'm like in a hurry and I know it's due and I drop it off, I'm trusting that they're actually doing the oil change and the tire rotation and resetting the odometer, and they have integrity in it, and they put all 8 quarts in my 6.2 liter. I'm trusting that happened. And I could give 14,000 examples of trust that we got to put out there. Kids get dropped off here for jiu-jitsu. Parents are trusting you're going to do the thing that you said you're going to do. On and on and on and on. I think parents are trusting the school system. I do. I think parents go, hey, I did.
Yeah.
But I was involved. And if you're a parent, you're not involved, I say get involved. I don't know what else to tell you there. I was involved. And there were things that I liked, and there were things that I disliked. And when I coached, there were things that I learned from the school system when they started putting directives down to me as how to coach in hockey. Not specifically how to coach the kids, but what the school requirements were. There was policies and procedures. I want to abide by that. But when they start becoming dumb or stupid from the standpoint of, well, every kid gets a trophy, and then DEI starts coming in, it's like, well, I'm sorry, wait a second. Am I coaching hockey, or am I coaching a counseling course on the kid who's putting zero effort into it versus the kid who's working his tail off? Are we building a team? Are we building a group that's going to have camaraderie, or am I kowtowing to somebody who, fill in the blank? And that's what we've become. And we've become that on steroids right now, to the point that it is everywhere in society. So this episode is who's raising your kids?
Yeah.
And we're talking about the school system. But the truth of the matter is it's swept across all boards and all boundaries. I gave the example of my wife, continuing education, 100% towards all this woke stuff. Yeah. That's the directive now for continuing education. Jana can't even go find a class in any one of those things that gives her something that's actually tangible on real world adjustment that might be going on, because the world is adjusted so far over here now that she's got to adjust over there.
Yeah.
The whole doctoring field coming in. Now you got to learn how to deal with these. I mean, to me, it's nonsense. It is crazy. It is silly. And to your point that you made in episode, whatever it was, 1 or 2, it's evil. It's got a foothold in, and now we're competing against it. And that's where we're at. We're just competing against it. And so I wake up in the morning and I go, how do I love well? How do I treat people well? What am I going to do? I'm not going to change my discipleship mentality. I'm not going to change my attitude on caring about people and loving people through stuff, nor am I going to change my attitude on standing in the face of evil.
Yeah.
I'm just not going to.
It all comes back to exactly what we talked about so many times, and especially in the first episode, is it's just the truth and then lies. We can't trust the public school system to even teach what should be pretty easy to teach without getting it and corrupting it. You made a comment earlier about one of the primary things that you learned in school was arithmetic, and then arithmetic in what language? You said arithmetic in what?
Yeah. We used to call it the 3 R's. That was the joke. Writing and arithmetic.
Yeah.
That's how we used to say it back in the day.
We can't even trust them to do the basic functions, because you could say, okay, math doesn't lie. Maybe we could get some teachers in there to teach math, but how many teachers are going to get in there and teach math and not still give their opinions on things that might be otherwise controversial? Maybe math is the one that we could say, for the most part, might be close to infallible, because so far, for whatever reason, math people agree on generally, right?
Because it really can't lie.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Just like math can't lie, there was a point where biology can't lie. And then all of a sudden, now it can. Now there is supposed to be more than 2 genders, and that's what they're teaching.
Well, yeah, but that's an emotion thing, in my opinion, Jared, because it's not they're teaching it, they're running with it.
But it shouldn't be. That's my point, is that it's just a basic truth. It's a basic truth. And the same thing goes with whenever we have people teaching history from a different perspective. The truth is that Americans came here to colonize, and they did that as peacefully as possible. It's not like we came over here swinging and started trying to steal and ransack and do anything violently. And then the country has grown and helped how many people? How many people protected countries, de-escalated situations? America has stepped up and helped
we're the greatest giving nation on the planet.
But that's not what's being taught.
I know.
They are being, I don't know if this is a word, but they are being depatriotized. They are being taught to be unpatriotic. Mm-hmm. They are being taught that this is a bad place, that we need to change, that we need to grow in this direction where people are more passive, more we let people live their lives. But that's not actually what they're doing. They're trying to force themselves and their ideals on the country in a vicious way. And in a way that if you don't go along with it, they're trying to slap on criminal charges that follow
they're
suit.
not trying to. They are.
They're doing it.
Yeah.
They're doing it. I don't know that anybody has any. I'm sure that we'll hear as the year goes on, because it's a new bill. But it'll be very interesting to see what plays out whenever the first person gets charged in Colorado with this new bill about having to go along with this trans affirming care stuff. Well, that'll be very interesting to follow. But the point is this: we can't trust the schools to teach the truth, because they're not teaching the truth.
So let's extend something here important, because that's an opinion that we've both thrown out. It's a perception that we both have, but there's also a perspective that we both have. Totally have. There's perspective that many parents have now. But I do want to throw out not only an olive branch, I want to throw out a thank you. There are some amazing, amazing teachers. And I'm not saying that to metaphorically just cover the statement that you just made that it's failing. The system is failing. The stats are proving. But there are amazing people and amazing teachers that are in this. I know when I say many, I've probably interact realistically, because people ask me. In fact, I had a conversation last week. Guy asked me, "Well, your kids graduated, you moved on." Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I still talk to the teachers.
Yeah,
they're still in our circle. Mm-hmm. So I know 20 probably here locally. Yeah, but I'm also friends with a handful from life where we grew up that were teachers. So when I went to do the medic cop thing, they became teachers. Yeah. So I don't know, probably a dozen or more. Yeah. Actually, I know more than that. People that teach. They will tell you the same thing that we're saying. Yeah. They will tell you the same thing. And these are amazing people. These are people that have been like, they loved what they did, and they no longer love what they're doing.
And then what happens whenever they get to this place? The friend that you talked about that's here, that's been doing this for 30 years, let's just say if they weren't in a position to be able to just, okay, this is my last year, I'm going to write it out and retire after. If they had to keep working, what do you think happens? There are absolutely very good teachers out there, and thank God for them. But a lot of them, what's happening in the public school education, the public education system, it's pushing them out. It's pushing them out. So then what do? They go and they get teaching jobs at private schools. Mm-hmm. And so some of the best teachers in the entire world, some of the best teachers in this country for sure, They're at private schools, private institutions. And so I think that everything's moving more toward privatizing the entire system, because there's this huge imbalance where, okay, the people who have some of these core values, the people who want to teach the kids the truth, they're getting kind of pushed out. Not even kind of, they're getting pushed out.
Yeah.
And then they go to private schools. So people who can't afford private schools, well, what's the option? Homeschool? Some people can't homeschool because they don't have the time to. They have to work. Some people can't make that commitment, and some people can't afford private school. So there's a huge problem where, well, I want my kid to go to school. To your point, you did say, well, you don't have to send your kid to school. But there's also this level of, what am I going to do if I've got to work? I'm going to leave my kid at home, 5 years old. I can't do that either. I'm going to leave my 7-year-old at home.
Oh, of course
I can't
not.
do that. So there is definitely this issue of, well, what other choice do I have? And I think that could be some parents out there. It's like, this is the only thing that I can do. So this is what I have to do.
Right.
And all I can do is just, every time he comes home, every time my kid comes home, I have to make sure that I'm doing what I can as a parent to straighten them out, make sure that they didn't have any information told to them, that I'm going to make sure anything that was lied about is going to be straightened out.
I don't think it's some parent. I think it's the majority of parents are stuck in that situation. We're a 2-income society. We're it's too expensive to live, which is a whole other factor that goes into this. And parents are forced to go do what they got to do. Yeah. And, again, I anytime that I go backwards in time, all I have is me to refer to. So, when I started work, minimum wage was $3.35 an hour. $3.35 an hour, minimum wage. Our house payment, our mortgage payment on our house was $619 a month. I remember it because I used to make that payment when I was 17 years old. When my mom, single, divorced from my dad, was trying to work 2 part-time jobs while go to school, because education to her was important. I worked for my uncle who owned a speed shop, a mechanic shop, which gave me great life skills. So grateful for him. But that $4.75 an hour he paid me, I thought I was the richest dude on the planet, because minimum wage was $3.35. I made $4.75 an hour, and I helped contribute to a $600 a month mortgage payment. Nowadays, dude, are you kidding me? We got car payments that are $1,000 a month right now.
Yeah.
You go out and buy a walking computer. You're holding one in your phone or in your hand.
Yeah.
It's $1,000 to go get it, or whatever, they sell them for nowadays, even more than that. And it's miraculous. It can do all sorts of things, but it feeds your brain.
By the way, I'm not being rude. I'm switching the camera angles.
It feeds your brain nonstop by design. You said it earlier with the agriculture and bought into the school. And if people hear that, they go, "Oh, come on, you guys are nuts." Oh yeah. I bet if I said the word rototiller 27 times out loud right now, I'd go home and I'd have rototiller ads popping up on my phone. So don't tell me that
rototiller.
Don't tell me that people aren't being fed what control comes in, right? So this is where this is the part where I will close out my portion, but I abhor people like Alex Jones, who just run with everything in life is wrong, terrible, bad, and everybody's under attack. And yet at the same time, I think there's 10% of truth in everything that he says. I think that there is probably 10% of truth in almost everything he says. He's probably totally off on a few things. But guys like him, the reason I can't listen to him, because I've tried a few times and go, what? I couldn't even stand Rush Limbaugh back in the day because he just kept regurgitating the same thing. But the point to these guys is they look at these conspiracy theories, and it ends up somewhere down the road, some portion of it comes true, and you're like, man, am I just naive? And then I go, nah, I don't want to be that. And here's why I bring that up. I don't ever want to be a Debbie Downer. I don't want to be the guy who's the consummate Alex Jones running around like, oh my gosh, you got to look over your shoulder, the world's going to blow up. And it's like, dude, go enjoy life. Go take a vacation. Go float in the ocean.
I think that he does enjoy doing that. He has to.
Oh, he loves it, but he's being sued for billions of dollars. Billions with a B. Billions. This guy's never going to see the light of day financially. I love dudes, while we theologically may not completely align. I know we don't completely align. Guys like Jordan Peterson, Joe Rogan, even Russell Brand right now, dudes that are asking provocative questions of every side of the aisle, trying to get to the bottom of this. Am I going to agree on every point? No, but I think the dialogue becomes important. And when I look at these guys, the reason I brought Alex Jones up is I want to he's kind of like my dad, actually. My dad was just a very in your face human being, and he was a drunk, and he was abusive, and he was a lot of bad things. But my dad taught me all the things I never wanted to be. And when I look at Alex, a guy like Alex Jones, I believe there's integrity in some of the things he's digging into. I genuinely applaud him for tackling tough issues. I struggle with everything as is negative and bad.
Yeah.
Because right now we got amazing kids down here
I agree.
rolling on the mat.
Mm-hmm.
We got families that come in this place all the time. This is but one example. You got your wife's coffee shop next door. I don't know how many times I've walked in there and people are just joyful and pleasant. And my wife, as a psychologist, she's never advertised a day in her life, word of mouth. Amazing human being that I married, where people come and they seek her out who are struggling with some things, but they just come back and they're like, Jane is amazing. Mm-hmm. There is so much good to be had.
Amen.
There is so much good to be had. And there are so many positives out there. But, however, whatever ellipsis I need to throw in there, there's also evil. And evil is real. And evil has gotten not just a foothold, it's now starting to get a stranglehold. In the jits world, strangleholds, not good. Whatever one you're getting put in, you want to get out of pretty quickly or you're going to be tapping. And in that world, it's easy to recognize and understand. In the real world, it's not always so easy because it's a slow crawl and it comes out of nowhere. And by the time sometimes you realize that it's even there, you're like, oh my gosh, what did I miss? Yeah. And so I want to paint a picture for folks. These are, when I say this is going to be a controversial subject, I know it's going to be controversial because I sat in the Douglas County school board meeting 2 years ago now, when this woke crap was blowing up big time back then. 50% of the room, all for kids being able to identify as anything they want. The other 50% of the room screaming, the other 50% of the room like, you people have lost your minds.
Yeah, crazy.
Dude, 50% of the room, it wasn't the teachers and it wasn't the school board. It was the parents. And that is, to me, where I go, okay, evil is real. We do have to wake up. We do need to be aware. And we do need to take a stand.
Amen.
Not everybody has to agree with everything that you and I say, nor do I have to agree with everything that somebody else says. But we at least need to be aware, and that's what this discussion is about: is who's raising your kids, what's really going on. And if you're tuned out, or you don't know, or you're too busy, stop and readjust your schedule. Is the only thing I can tell you. Take some time, get involved.
Yeah,
get involved. If you can spend 15 minutes going through the coffee line, which is important to me. I love coffee. We got our oodle today. That was intentional. We walked next door. We had a conversation. We spoke to the gals. It was friendly. It was nice. It was engaging. We come back. We get our coffee. We do our thing. It was intentional. If I can be intentional about that, I can be intentional to drive over to the high school to find out what the heck is going on inside the high school. As a parent, I can go do that.
And you should.
Right?
You should. Absolutely. And to end on a positive note, because you're right, we've got to make sure we're being positive. Well, we're in our own way doing everything that we can to do something about the problems. And that is right here what we're doing on this podcast, but it's also what we're doing here, the Rock Jiu-Jitsu team, the coffee shop, your wife with her counseling, and you with your training. And we're doing what we can, but we're not the only ones out there. There's other people out there doing good. They're doing something about it. They're trying to create communities for people. They're trying to be a good thing for people. And that's what we're trying to do here. And we've got some kids right here behind us. They're already enjoying summer camp. And that's got to be what we focus on. We've got a responsibility in hand right now, and that is the community that we have. And make sure, if you're listening, if you don't have a good circle around you, surround yourself. Find that circle, people with your same values. It could be said the way that I've said, well, we can't trust people to teach truth. They're teaching us lies. There's plenty of people out there that would say, well, you guys are teaching lies too. You're teaching the Bible. There's plenty of people who would say that the Bible, I've heard people say, and I've seen even recently within the past couple of weeks, somebody say the fiction. I'm very familiar with the fictional work called the Bible. And there's people out there that take that stance. They don't agree with us. They don't believe in that. And you have a right to believe what you want to believe. But for me, for Micah, for those of you who know us, for those of you who know our businesses, we do stand on truth, and that truth ultimately being the Word of God, the Bible. That's what we're grounded on. That's what our businesses are founded on, and that will always be the responsibility that we take the most seriously.
Can I add one thing to that? Because you said something that's so important. There are people out there that do have that perspective. I not only do I acknowledge it, I've lived it firsthand. I've witnessed it. I've watched it. So to those people that genuinely believe fiction in that, or they equate it to lunacy or crazy, the same way I look at somebody going through this binary woke silliness licking out of a dog bowl is the same way that I look at the people at the Westboro Baptist Church. The same way I look at those people, because those people are the ones that come out that are so non-loving, and they have horrific verbiage directed at specific groups, from military to gay people. They attack and they malign, and I think there's just evil that is crap, and specifically that church, because they get used as an example. I've seen them on multiple podcasts get used as an example. Yeah, I think they're nuts. I genuinely think that those people are is just off kilter as anybody that's over here drinking out of a dog bowl. And we've got to sit back and we got to go, wait a second. How do you get to that point? Mm-hmm. So these people over here are identifying as a cat, and you're identifying as the most self-righteous human being on the planet, and everybody else is wrong. That is not what the Bible teaches. Not in any way, shape, or form. And I have no problem calling that out.
Yeah.
And no problem at all.
No.
Because that's not what this is about.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not, to me, when I shake a man's hand that I've never met, I'm not sitting back thinking, gee, I wonder, fill in the blank, is he any one of these 37 things that I need to be worried about in the world? I'm looking him in the eye and shaking his hand. If something develops from there, or we learn something about each other, then you deal with it appropriately both directions. I don't like any fringe group. I have a real problem personally with any fringe group that believes their only way of doing something is the only way to do something.
I just gave the example for context that this is our responsibility and this is our purpose. And I encourage you, regardless of what you believe in, you need to find something to believe in, because you have to have a purpose. If you don't have something you believe in, then you're wandering without a purpose.
And I think faith is important.
It's just
tantamount.
Faith. You have to have faith, and you have to believe in something and have faith in something and find that purpose. And that's a responsibility that we don't take lightly, and we do it all out of love.
Right.
We do it all out of exactly how the Word of God is, exactly how the Bible says, speak the truth in love.
Yep.
And to your point of everything you just said, go read up on the fruit of the Spirit. If you read up on the fruit of the Spirit, it's not kicking people out of your life and telling people that they have no place and this, that. No, the fruit of the Spirit is going to be something that people can feel because it all comes out of love.
Yep.
And love is what we have. We love this team. We love the community that we're building here. We love our country, and we want to do everything that we can to help and to serve. We want to follow Jesus, his example of serving, and we want to serve the best way that we can. And we take that responsibility seriously. We want to do what we can. So parents, anybody listening, find a group of people, find a community who loves, who cares, who is founded on that purpose, on those values that you have, founded on the Bible. You will find there's people out there. Me and Mike are not the only ones, but here in Colorado, if you need somebody, if you need a community, come over and hang out with us sometime. Come to the coffee shop, say hi. Come to the jiu-jitsu team, try a class or watch a class. And I can tell you this pretty confidently. I think that you will see. I think that you will feel a room and a place that you know that these people care.
Yeah,
you know that we care. We care, and we're doing our best to make sure that people know that we care. And we take that as a responsibility. And every day that I walk through these doors, every day that I come into this gym, I want to make sure that today counts. Not just for me, not just for my own selfish gain, but I want to make sure that I am the best coach that I can be, that I really show up and I give it my all. That the kids, the parents, the adults, everybody who shows up, I want to make sure that they come in here and they leave knowing that they had a good class, that they feel like they were challenged, they were improved, and they were inspired. And it gets them a nice place to be able to come and unplug, unwind for a second, but then at the same time leave here feeling encouraged, feeling like that they did something productive, feeling like that they did something and grew. And that's my goal. That's what I want to do. That's what I want to be, the absolute best coach that I can be. And so I'm just saying that to clarify and to give context as we go into this concluding prayer for this episode. That's where I want to make sure that everybody understands without any doubt, without any misunderstanding. That's where we're operating from. We care.
Absolutely.
We love this team. We love what we're doing. And we believe in it. And it's all about not us. It's all about what's way more important and what's going to outlive us. And that is God. That is God's word. That is his work, his kingdom. That's what we're focused on. That's our priority.
Well said.
So let's go ahead and close out this episode. Lord, first, I want to bring it just right here, right where we're sitting. There's kids on the mat right here behind me. God, I pray for this team. I pray for the community that we have here. I pray for every single kid. I pray, Lord, that you would help me and that you'd help Mike, all the other coaches, the entire team. Help us to be good examples, Lord, because you know in this world There are so many people that are constantly failing and letting our kids down, letting your kids down, God. I pray that you'd help us to be the coaches and the examples, the role models that we need to be. I pray that you'd help us, Lord, to let your light shine so bright in us that it's obvious, Lord, that you are the one who is in us working and through us working. I pray, Lord, that you would let us lead this team in the direction that's honoring to you. And I pray, God, that you would help and that you'd protect and be with each of the kids that are on this team, Lord, that are in this community. I pray, Lord, that you would protect them even as they go out in this world, whether they're in school or in homeschool. I pray that you'd raise them up to be strong men and women that are founded and rooted in their purpose in you, Lord. And I pray for the coffee shop. I pray for Jana's business. I pray for the counseling business. I pray for Micah's business. I pray for everyone that we'll interact with throughout this week, Lord. I pray for the businesses. I pray that you'd help them to be used for your purpose, for your glory. And I pray for every listener right now, God. I pray, Lord, that you'd encourage us in a world that's so easy to get kind of stuck and distracted in the weeds, Lord. I pray, Lord, that you'd let us be encouraged in you and in your truth, God, because you're still here, even in a world of evil. Well, we know, God, that your word is, thank you for the encouragement and the promise that we have in your word, that greater is he that is in me than he that is in this world, Lord. We trust in you, and we ask you to help us and give us the strength that we need, the wisdom that we need to be able to carry ourselves through this world and through these challenging times, God. We ask you all of this in your name, and we trust in you. We thank you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
All right. Until next time.